Okay, so here is a map of what's now southeastern Queensland, just after the Battle of One Tree Hill ended in September of 1883. The red areas represent where Britain was actively controlling. Forgive me for any of the shadows cast on the map. I'm doing my best to properly light it, but there's not much I can do. Anyway, the red represents British control, and those yellow dots, hope they're visible enough, they represent the major settlements and the larger sheep stations, cattle stations, etc. And the, I believe, 8 main nations of the United Tribes, which in order from south to north I'll name the Bundjalung, the Big Amble, the Jagera, Barangum, the Waka Waka, the Gubbi Gubbi, the Batyara, and the Gurrung Gurrung. Those are the major nations, as you can see in their outlines there. Okay, so now for the situation just after the Battle of One Tree Hill. So the Battle of One Tree Hill happened 12th September 1843. Through the 13th to the 30th of the same month, September 1843, Border Police under Commissioner Simpson conduct punitive expeditions east of what's now Toowoomba. So that would be this dot here being Toowoomba, which at the time, if I remember correctly, was a large sheep station. And they built a town there a few years later. One Tree Hill is right in that gap there. So in that gap is where the Jagera and Barangum warriors under the command of Multigera were controlling the area after they'd beat back the whites at One Tree Hill. Now, with that set up, I'll place some pieces on the board for the sake of reference for troop movements, because that'll be very important in a moment. There, here, and sorry about the light, here, around about. I'll try to fix it up. I don't have very good lighting equipment. I don't have any lighting equipment. I'll be real about that. There we go. That's actually a bit worse. How about I scrunch up some tissue, put it in the bottom of it, so hopefully it holds it up. Ah, there we go. That's okay. Okay, so the green pieces represent where most of the Aboriginal war bands are, and these 2 red pieces will be the main military formation. So in Brisbane there, Moreton Bay, is the 11th Regiment of Foot, and out here at that little dot there was Ipswich, the little town there that will become Ipswich, is where the 99th Regiment is. Okay, so after those few extra skirmishes east of Toowoomba, the Jagera, operating out of One Tree Hill, and then move on the station owned by the McDougall brothers in October 1843. After that, late 1843, not specified which month, the 99th moves west to what's now Hillerden, builds a fort there. It's garrisoned by the 99th and local mounted police. That's when they'll use it as a jumping off springboard for campaigns in the Lockyer Valley against Multigera's warriors. Now, due to the victories at One Tree Hill and McDougall Station, the Lockyer clans had acquired dozens of firearms. Picking them up from their defeated enemies. The clans also acquired guns through trade, especially by doing work for sawyers A good day of hard wood cutting could get you a flintlock. A few days of work could probably get you a Kentucky rifle. So by that point they had acquired a few dozen firearms. Out of a warband of, in that area in the Lockyer Valley, a warband of about 350 men, a couple dozen of them would have been armed with flintlocks at that point. So while most of them are still using spears and boomerangs, every so often you would come across men armed with rifle or musket. Now, in the beginning of 1844, some tribes on the Darling Downs sought peace, but Multigara continued the war, besieging many outstations along the Brisbane River, operating from One Tree Hill, Rosewood Scrub and around Hilderton, repeatedly cutting off communication routes. Out west, so out here on the plains, Big and Bull warriors attacked and destroyed Gundawindi Station, which is right here, moving in, destroying it, killing many station hands, burning the main buildings and sending the owners fleeing. The station would stay in Indigenous hands until 1849, when Native police under Frederick Walker retook it. We'll discuss that in another episode. So that area of the Downs out there, what's now Gundawindi, was captured by the natives and it would stay in their hands for 4 years. Throughout the conflict, as you can see here by this gap, warriors mostly of the Jaygera and Gubbi people would constantly raid around Brisbane, effectively controlling the land between Ipswich and Moreton Bay. And that's what you really see throughout the entirety of the conflict. Most of it is a guerrilla war based on raiding, quickly destroying farmhouses, stealing guns, setting it ablaze and running back into the wilderness before police or soldiers can show up. Of course, there's many set-piece battles like we saw at One Tree Hill, McDougall Station, and a few other places that'll come up later. But and this is what made them so successful, is they realised that facing the whites head-on was suicidal, really, because of their guns and their horses and their steel and their cannons. If you tried charging a line of British soldiers, you might just get cut down, volley fire after volley fire, peppered with grape shot. But if you draw the soldiers into the wilderness, you can hit them with spears and boomerangs and trade muskets until they're whittled down enough that they decide to retreat. And that's how leaders like Dundalli and Multigara figured it out how to fight the British, and it worked tremendously. The war lasted total 12 years, and it's those raiding tactics, ambush tactics that made it last so long. But eventually, the whites smartened up, and the fighting around the Lockyer Valley, where Multigara and his warriors were, would eventually fall apart in 1846 after 3 years of hard fighting. So in 1846, during a raid on his headquarters in the Rosewood Scrub, Multigara was killed in action by settler militia, ending the organised resistance in the Lockyer Valley, meaning that the Lockyer Valley now, by 1846, was effectively under the control of British forces. Fighting would continue all around southeastern Queensland and northern New South Wales for still years to come, but the main centre of Lockyer Valley was put under British control. So that is the state of things by 1846.